When the characters hit the 40-year mark, they want to diversify their lives and try something new. Peter is into special strength pills and fun cupcakes and doesn't notice his business falling apart. Debbie meets some young guys at a party and they have fun together. How will the wife feel when she finds out that her husband is taking pep pills? Will it be possible to restore family relations or not? We'll find out by watching the video to the end. The couple spends a lot of time in the shower celebrating Debbie's birthday. But the woman is not satisfied with the fact that Pete used special drugs to energize. The couple begins to quarrel. With his act, the hero wanted to please his wife, giving her his powerful turbo bump for the holiday. Later, Pete decorates the dining room with Sadie and Charlotte. A heroine wearing rubber gloves smokes out the window. When the family calls the birthday girl to the table, Debbie hastily tosses out her cigarette and freshens her breath. After breakfast, the girls argue on the couch over a TV show Sadie is watching. Debbie notices that Pete has hidden a muffin in the sink and asks to throw it out. The man pretends not to understand what his wife is talking about. To change the subject, he inquires about Debbie's plans for the day. The hero notes that this year they will celebrate only his holiday. Pete suggests that Debbie is embarrassed about her age and wants to hide it from others. The heroine, on the other hand, is surprised that they did not prepare her any gift for the anniversary. When his wife leaves for fitness, Peter happily eats a cupcake, which he hid in the kitchen sink. At the workout, Jason praises Debbie's persistence and censures Barb's laziness. A woman recounts a bad experience in the shower. Coach comforts her, and Barb shares her own experience with her friend. Coach remarks that Barb's happy life is noticeable by Barb. After the bike ride, Pete chats with Barry. A friend says that the hero shouldn't talk about taking pills. Peter admits that sometimes Debbie annoys him a lot. The men discuss options for the development of their lives if suddenly the wives disappeared. They believe that everyone sympathizes with widowers, and it is the ideal status. Later, the family rides in the car and Pete and Debbie argue about music while their children fight in the back seat of the car. At the store, Debbie asks Jody to keep a close eye on the cash register because $12,000 has disappeared somewhere. The girl assumes that her coworker stole the money. The heroine does not believe the words of the new girl because Desi sells goods better. According to Pete, Desi does not wear underwear, and he tells his wife about it. Debbie is surprised that her husband looked under the girl's skirt while the girls are jumping on the trampoline in front of the house. Debbie notices that Peter has disappeared somewhere. Sadie discovers her father's secret hideout. The heroine finds her husband sitting on the toilet. He is playing a toy on the tablet. Debbie asks him to speed up. The youngest daughter did her first somersault, and he missed the whole thing. Debbie also notes that this is the 4th time in one day that Peter has secluded himself in the bathroom. She assumes that her husband wants to hide from his family that way. The couple fights again. In the evening, the characters and their friends enjoy the music of Graham Parker in Pete's studio. On the way home, they discuss music preferences. Debbie likes fun and simple music. An ambulance whizzes past the couple, and Debbie jokes that it's the last Graham Parker fan who drove off because his music makes you homesick. At home, the heroine turns on an example of popular music to her husband. The hero disagrees, but no one in his family likes rock. In the morning, Pete leisurely eats his cereal and his wife asks him about packing the children's lunch. The heroine takes Charlotte to school. On the way, they meet the girls' moms and classmates. The girls' teacher asks the heroine to bring her daughter to school on time. The old lady Molly congratulates the heroine on her birthday. She advises the woman not to blink to slow down aging. Debbie has gotten too much information that morning and relaxes in the car. Peter's studio is making a loss, but the hero doesn't want to admit it to his wife. At home, Debbie suggests to her husband to improve their relationship. They discuss items that will help them get closer. In bed, Debbie reviews the footage from the video cameras and shows her husband how Desai is actively spending time with her friend right on the counter. The woman says that she and her husband lack passion in their relationship. Pete disagrees and farts near his wife. This infuriates Debbie because this kind of thing is unacceptable to her. In the morning, Debbie throws her cigarettes in the trash can behind the house. Her example is followed by Pete. He throws his candy in the same place. However, when it comes to the cupcake, the man greedily eats it right over the trash can. The couple goes to the clinic for their annual medical checkup. As the heroine lies in the gynecologist's chair, the nurses try to figure out the woman's correct birth year. This strains Debbie, and the doctor tries to defuse the situation with medical humor. At home, the woman offers to do her husband a favor. She urgently needs something to occupy her mouth because she has decided to give up cigarettes. While the couple is trying to let off steam, children start knocking on the door of their room. The girls are fighting right under the door. The noise interferes with concentration and Pete loses his power. The hero visits his father. The oldest son asks his father to keep expenses to a minimum because his business is struggling. Larry tells the hero the story that Peter was born because his father talked his mother into eating pizza. Debbie is having lunch at a restaurant with her father Oliver. The man has a busy schedule because of his new family. Debbie is sad, flipping through the pictures on her phone. At home, the heroine tells the girls that she and Pete have decided to introduce healthy food into their lives and minimize the use of gadgets. Sadie is unhappy with the changes her parents want to introduce. In the next scene, the characters go to the coast together. They actively spend time in the hotel room and swim in the pool. In the evening, the couple lies on the bed and realizes that they do not like fighting. Peter asks how Debbie would like to end it with him. She describes her cupcake plan in colors. The couple laughs and confesses their love for each other. The man suggests that his wife try some fun cookies that a friend gave him. After getting full of cookies, they order different sweets for the room. When the waiter brings them a table with food, Pete shows the guy a joke with a banana. The heroes goof around and have a great weekend together. Back home, they go to the healer because Charlotte has an earache. The next day, the heroes go for a bike ride with friends. Debbie comes home and wants to have an urgent chat with her husband. However, the hero arranged a strange photo shoot for himself at the cosmetic mirror. Jody complains to her boss about a coworker. Debbie decided to have a personal conversation with the girl. She asked Desi to advertise things you. When the girl changed clothes, Debbie complimented the figure of the employee. Desi offered the heroine herself to check the naturalness of her forms, and the woman touched Desi's melons. After her daughters were born, the heroine's melons deflated and it made her sad. Pete's father came to the family with his children. Debbie told her father-in-law that she was getting rid of products with gluten. Wendy, a friend of Sadie's, also came to visit. The heroine reminded her daughter that their family had new rules and suggested that the girls take a walk in the yard. Sadie decided to press her mother in every possible way to cancel the new rules. Debbie asked her daughter's friend to wait for Sadie in the other room. The girl began to fight with her mother, resulting in not only her phone being taken away, but other gadgets as well. The father-in-law noted that the granddaughter was as stubborn as his daughter-in-law. Larry didn't see anything wrong with wheat, and put everything Debbie threw out of the refrigerator into a bag with him. In the evening, the parents were reading their eldest daughter's correspondence on the tablet. They were actively discussing her boyfriend's messages and trying to understand the meaning of the smiley face that ended the dialogue. Pete received a call from Ronnie to inform him about the failure of Graham's album sales. Just over 600 people had bought the album. This information shocked Pete. He arranged an emergency meeting with his colleague in the morning. On his way to the studio, the man drove the girls to school. Sadie and Charlotte were enjoying the music. Debbie had a meeting with a financial advisor. The man told the heroine that their business was going downhill. The shortage at the store was a small thing compared to the fact that they weren't paying their mortgage installments. Debbie also learned that over the course of 2 years, to his father, Pete had transferred $60,000. The heroine recalled a conversation with her husband when he claimed he wasn't giving money to his father. The counselor said that Peter was aware of the ongoing issues because they called regularly. In the studio, Pete was angry. He yelled at Ronnie, who wasn't trying hard enough with his work on the Graham Parker album. A coworker thinks the boss is draining money on unnecessary things to decorate the office instead of putting it into the business. Pete agrees to spend the money from his credit card on a band that will help them improve sales. Debbie came in for a consultation with a gynecologist. The doctor delighted the woman with the news that she had been cured of her illness and was now expecting a baby. If the first news really pleased the woman, the second was a shock for the heroine. She was surprised at the possibility of having a third child at the age of 40. Pulling herself together, Debbie exhaled and accepted this gift of fate. On the way home, the woman thought about how she would tell her family. After work, Peter visited his father. He brought a drawing of John Lennon and asked his father to sell it to somehow compensate for the money he had given earlier. The man didn't like the idea, but agreed to give it a try. At school, Sadie was discussing with her girlfriend about her correspondence with a classmate. Her parents were watching the girl helping on stage to paint the set. Debbie chose a moment to talk to her husband about the addition to the family. She started from afar to get Pete's opinion about the family more. The man answered emphatically. He thought a third child would be unnecessary, remembering the elderly lady from school. The hero suggested his wife to live separately. He wondered how long it would take for them to start getting bored. All this monologue upset Debbie, and she did not reveal her secret. The woman found her daughter's classmate, whose correspondence she had read the day before, and decided to deal with him. The guy tried to explain that it was not him, however. Debbie did not want to listen. The woman tried to convey to him that it was not worth it to write nasty things about Sadie. The boy started crying and Debbie thought she had overreacted, but the boy managed to anger her even more when, in response to words of comfort, he talked about menopause. In the meantime, Pete was once again playing on his tablet while sitting on the toilet. Debbie opened the bathroom door and told her husband that she was going to see Desi. She needed to find out who was shoplifting. Debbie and Desi walked into the bar. The woman didn't plan to talk in such a noisy room and suggested that the girls go for a coffee. However, Desi assured her boss that there was coffee here too, just like the quiet cubbyholes at the other end of the room. At the bar, the girls met the hockey players. Desi asked if they had any teeth left, since that's rare for hockey players. One of the guys offered to let the girl try on his jaw. Desi immediately agreed and put his teeth in her mouth. This amused the guys. The girl gave the jaw back to her new acquaintance, and Debbie suggested she go up where it was quieter. The guys did not want to lose sight of the beautiful conversationalists. The heroine explained to them that today they had a business meeting. Desi offered to first celebrate the victory of the guys, and then continue their communication on work issues. In the studio, Graham Parker's concert with the band was in progress. Pete gathered a lot of spectators in the audience, but did not understand where the artist's fans had gone. At the same time, his wife was having fun in a bar and receiving compliments from guys. One of the guys offered her to continue socializing in the hotel. Debbie was pleasantly surprised by the guy's attention. After the concert, Graham admitted to Pete that he didn't hope for big sales because his time had passed. Hero relived his failure in the car. Debbie gave Desi a ride home and dared to ask about the missing money. The girl admitted that she sometimes accompanies rich men to events, so she can afford to buy expensive things. In the morning, Debbie came to her husband to please him, but Pete was not in the mood for romance. The couple began to quarrel. Pete suggested communicating the way a psychologist had taught them, and the situation spiraled out of control. Debbie asked to cancel the party, but her husband had already paid for the food delivery. The children were worried about their parents fighting and had a fight before bedtime, too. Debbie comforted the youngest daughter. On the way to school, Peter ate a burger and sang songs, which surprised the daughters. At school, the mother of a classmate who was yelled at by his wife decided to deal with the man. Debbie was urgently summoned to the school principal to resolve the conflict. At home, Sadie found out that her parents read her correspondence and threw a tantrum. Charlotte stole her sister's devices to give back to her. The parents decided to discuss their daughter's behavior, found fault in their misunderstandings, and calmed down, while Barb helped her friends set the table. Their husbands watched Desi. Debbie's trainer also came to the party and congratulated Pete by showing him the result of his work on his wife. Larry and the girls marveled that Debbie had a father and were happy to have a second grandfather. Ronnie and Jason decided to vie for the attention of the store hottie. Desi lavished her attention on Jason, who was a Cancer by horoscope and promised to improve her figure. At the birthday boy's table, Debbie made a toast. Larry decided to start an argument with the woman's father. He wanted to pressure his daughter-in-law to ask Oliver for help. Larry had failed in life and was trying to solve his problems at the expense of others. Oliver was uncomfortable with the relative's words and said he was leaving the party. But Debbie saw him in the crowd when the cake for Pete was being brought out. Sadie noticed that her mother was smoking and demanded an explanation from the woman. To avoid the conversation, the heroine hurried into the kitchen. Barb accidentally reveals Debbie's secret to her family. The heroine snapped and yelled at her husband for eating cupcakes. Relatives decided to congratulate her, and Oliver asked to take care of himself and remembered the moment of the woman's birth 40 years ago. The heroine decides to clarify relations with her father. It turns out that there are a lot of problems in his life, too. Pete gets nervous and goes for a bike ride. Debbie goes in search of her husband with her father-in-law. Oliver stays with his granddaughters to watch a movie. Peter crashes into a car and tries to work things out with the fat man, but the man beats him up. Debbie rushes to her husband's aid, but the stranger drives off in a car with no license plates. At the hospital, Larry and Debbie wait for the results of Peter's examination. His father-in-law says that a couple has to have someone to hit, and in their family, that's Debbie. Larry apologized to his sister-in-law for his behavior and asked her for money for a cab. Debbie and Peter decide to have a heart-to-heart talk. They decide to make a fresh start. The hero suggests his wife to listen to music to correct the impression of the birthday party.